Highbrow, lowbrow, middlebrow. There's been a lot of discussion about that lately in videos, and I thought I would kick in with my thoughts. I thought it was, I think Matt at Paperback Junkie did a really good job of talking about just sort of the economic drivers of a lot of this stuff. Of it's a marketing thing, of who is your market for stuff, what are you signaling when you're trying to sell these books, and his observation that the new highbrow lowbrow possible divide is going to be between published and self-published books. Self-published books not having jumped through the kind of the various barriers of possibly quality, possibly of content to be able to kind of to be published by an official company versus someone just publishing it themselves, something that this is something I want to do. And you know, that being as arbitrary as a lot of the highbrow, lowbrow, middlebrow stuff. I think that you can really see that with stuff that started off as probably as lowbrow, as like just as considered genre stuff. I've got a thing here of the strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Robert Louis Stevenson. But there's like, you know, a lot of things of the Victorians, which, you know, probably someone like Wilkie Collins, even Charles Dickens for himself, might be considered, if not lowbrow, was considered middlebrow at the time. Was considered, oh, well, you know, this is just best, especially Dickens. It's like, oh, this is just bestseller stuff. This is stuff that everybody likes. Therefore, you know, especially if it's that kind of wide thing, but maybe it's not too trashy, or garbagey, could be considered, you know, that's just middlebrow. But the stuff of that lasts, Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Dickens, stuff like that, starts slowly elevating up. I mean, you look at Shakespeare. Shakespeare was doing theater. Theater was horribly disreputable thing at the time. That was probably considered extremely lowbrow. This is stuff that you went to the theater and, like, were you even watching the show, or were you cavorting in the audience and drinking? And, you know, if you were, there's lots of, you know, low puns going on in Shakespeare. It's like, it is, I don't know, you probably make an argument that Shakespeare has traversed all the way from lowbrow, I mean, to the point where the governments of the time were, you know, banning and censoring plays, just, you know, kind of stuff. Shakespeare himself was far better known. His reputation was as a poet, because poetry was the highbrow of the time. And, you know, writing these plays was like writing a sitcom or something like that today, is the analogy that I've seen. It's like, you know, is some episode of Two and a Half Men in a 300 years going to be up there with Shakespeare? I doubt it, but you never know. It's interesting what bits of television today, and there's some definite bits of television today. Better Call Saul would be my pick for, you know, things of this could be the Shakespeare of our era. That it'll be interesting to see if it can last, because I mean, the good thing about Shakespeare is it can last on paper, whereas all these TV shows, it's like they're in digital form. The next electronic pulse that comes through and wipes everything might indeed wipe all of all of the lowbrow culture, that is low or middlebrow culture, that is just waiting to transverse the ages into the highbrow realm. I mean, and it's interesting when people talk about, like, oh, well, what's highbrow, and they list off stuff, and I'm going, oh, they teach that in schools to children. That's not highbrow. Highbrow is really difficult stuff. There's that snobby part of me. But yeah, you know, but that's the thing with all written stuff. I'm trying to avoid saying the word literature, because I think literature seems to belong to the realm of highbrow. But, you know, all of our written culture is living. It's living within us, and we make our decisions, we make our value judgments about it, and it doesn't stay the same. It can very much transfer from being trashy, disposable junk to suddenly, you know, with passage of time, or a change of context, into suddenly, this is the high, great expression of our culture, and something to be treasured always. and that's just an interesting process. So it's always a good discussion to have. I'm always interested to hear what people are now thinking about what is highbrow, lowbrow, middlebrow. I think, yeah, definitely check out. Put a link to Matt's video down below, because him talking about the kind of that idea of the commercial aspect of it, I think really is basically what I'm just repeating that, and the whole idea of that the self-publishing industry, the breaking down to a degree of the companies having the full hold on that. Though I have to admit, I'm bad in that it's hard. It's hard. There's so much literature out there that I need a gatekeeper to tell me, well, what is the really cool, what is the really great stuff that I could actually read and self-publish? What is the fun trash? What is the, wow, this is, a diamond here amongst the rough. And it's one of those things that sometimes you wonder how many people have gone through an age, how many people were alive when Herman Melville published Moby Dick and never picked it up, never read it, just thought it was failed nautical adventure fiction, and just was failed lowbrow trash. Couldn't even get to that level. It was just an oddity, and so never got to try it. And that is when the publishing industry was producing but a fraction of what it gets produced today. Is how many Moby Dicks are out there that I will completely miss, but are floating around in the sea at the moment. So yeah, it's a fun discussion, so I thought I would dip my oar in. Aye, laddie. All right, I've been Jay. More videos later.